listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome again to our second day of SAP training. And today we're going to start our first topic, which is overview of the procurement processes. Okay, so let us start. So the topics that we're going to cover in this video will be about the procurement cycle. What is the procurement cycle? What is a stock transfer order? What is subcontracting, vendor consignment, organizational level in purchasing. So up to here, it's all about more theoretical, just to understand the procurement processes theoretically. And then in the second half of the training today, we'll start practicals. So first we'll start with the SAP Navigation. So with some practicals about SAP Navigations. And then we'll do some practical on SAP Server about how to create SAP purchase order and how to create a goods receipt and invoice verification. Okay, so let us start with our first topic today will be procurement cycle. Okay, also known as procure to pay. So what is a procurement cycle? Okay, so in general, what we're talking about here is the general procurement cycle. Okay, general procurement cycle. Okay, so basically you can look at this diagram, which is showing you basically the standard procurement cycle. Okay, so let's see what happens. What first, what second, what third. Okay, so let us start. So first of all, the requirement, number one, you can look at the number one, determination of requirement. Okay, so first of all, the requirement will be given. Okay, so you will get the requirement, or if I'm working as a purchasing officer, I'll get some sort of requirement from the business. Okay, those requirements can come as manually created requirement or can be created by SAP as well. Okay, so SAP can automatically create some requirements. So if SAP needs some material to manufacture some other product, it will automatically create requirement via a thing called MRP. Okay, which we'll talk about later on again in detail about MRP. Or the requirement can be created manually by someone in the business. Okay, so you'll get the requirement first. That's on step number one. Then step number two is a determination of source of supply. Okay, second thing, as if I'm working as a purchasing officer in a company, okay, I'll first get the requirement. Second step will my task to see where should I buy my goods. Okay, so that's called determination of source of supply. Where should we get the supply from? Okay, we need to select a vendor. So basically what we'll do, we'll ask a couple of vendor for a quotation. Okay, so this is a product we want, this much quantity we want, give us a quotation. Okay, so then so that we can decide which is the right source of supply. Okay, so once we have sent the requirement to say, so just a request for quotation, what we call it RFQ, request for quotation, to a couple of vendors, 3-4 vendors, and they will come back with their price and their conditions of shipment and all that, and then we'll select a vendor at stage number 3. Okay, so we'll say, okay, this vendor looks good, the price is good, and the delivering condition is good, they're delivering free as well, so, and they can deliver the goods in 5 days, so this one looks good rather than others. So we'll select this vendor and we'll reject the others which we don't like. Okay, so once you've selected the vendor, then next step will be purchase order processing. So in the next step, as a purchasing officer, I'll be creating a purchase order. Okay, again, purchase order can be created manually or purchase order can be created automatically by SAP system as well, which we'll see later on in the practicals. So purchase order will be created and sent to that vendor. Then next step will be, step number 5 will be your purchase order monitoring. Okay, so where myself or someone in the business will be monitoring all the purchase order, whatever purchase order is sent to the vendor. So we'll be monitoring that, okay, this is supposed to be delivered today, or it was supposed to be delivered yesterday. So we'll just need to keep an eye on that. Okay, when it was supposed to deliver and when the actual delivery is happening. So that's a monitoring. So next step will be number 6 will be your good receipts. So once the vendor has sent you the goods, okay, you will doing the goods receipt in the system. Okay, you will make an entry in the system which is called good receipt, that we have received the goods, so that system can add the goods to the inventory, okay, as a stock. Okay, then next step will be invoice verification, number 7. Okay, invoice verification. So once we receive the goods at number 6, number 7 is will create an invoice, okay, for the customer. That means we have received the goods, now we need to pay to the vendor. Okay, so for that we'll create an invoice for the customer. Okay, and that means we'll create an invoice in the system. And the last step, or step number 8, will be payment processing. So there'll be a payment running in the system, which will send the payment as per the invoice created at number 7 and send those payment to the vendor. Okay, so that's the payment processing. So here you can see this an 8-step process, starting from determination of requirement up to the last payment processing, where we give the money to the vendor. So that's your generic procurement cycle. Okay, now let's continue. So now we'll talk about some theoretical stuff. So before we move on, as we slowly start to understand SAP MM from practically as well, okay, so we need to understand some sort of theoretical things as well. Okay, so what does stock transport order mean? So in the practical later on, I'll be creating some stock transport order. But before I create them, you need to understand what actually is stock transport order. Okay, it's also known as stock transfer order or stock transport order, same thing. Okay, so let's see some theoretical stuff, that what is stock transport order. Okay, so stock transport order, also known as STO, is just delivering a goods between one plant to the plant within the same company. For example, if my company is in Australia, it's a national level company, okay, and one plant is in Melbourne, one plant is in Sydney. So what will happen is, Melbourne plant has the requirements to get the goods from the other plants. So in that case, STO will be created by Melbourne plant, and that means goods will be sent by the Sydney plant, for example. So the issuing plant will be send the goods, and the Melbourne plant will be receiving the goods. So the stock transfer between the two plants is created by STOs. Okay, so STO is nothing, it's just like a purchase order, but it's called STO. Okay, so we'll do some more practical later on about STO. Then we need to understand what is subcontracting. Okay, what is the term subcontracting? Okay, so subcontracting is nothing. Subcontracting is used where, for example, if I give example, say for example, my company is manufacturing a laptop. Okay, so what we're doing is we internally manufacturing a lot of other components for making the laptop, like we internally making motherboard and some other parts like a hard disk and all that. But at the same time, we're buying some stuff from the third party as well, okay, as a raw material, and we're doing the assembly. Okay, so when we're doing the assembly of the system, probably we can say that, okay, assembly part we want to give to a third party. This is called subcontracting. Okay, that means we're doing everything for manufacturing the laptop, but just for the assembly of the laptop, okay, we want to subcontract it. That means a third party vendor or another small company will give this job to them. Okay, and what they will do is they will just do the assembly. So we'll send them all the goods like motherboard, the body of the laptop, hard disk, and whatever is required, keypad and everything, screen, monitor, everything, and they will just do the assembly. Okay, and once they have done the assembly, they will return us the final laptop. So basically what we're doing is we're sending them raw materials, all the components required to make a laptop, and what we're getting back is a laptop. Okay, that's subcontracting, or they are called my subcontractor. Understand? Okay, so that's what subcontracting is. Okay, so here you can see, purchasing side, you can see there are three different columns here in the three different blocks here in this picture: purchasing, inventory management, and invoice verification. Okay, so if you look at the purchasing first, so what will happen is a subcontracting purchase order will be created. There's a special type of purchase order which is called subcontract purchase order, and will be created and sent to the contractor who is waiting for the components. Okay, and if you look at the same from the inventory management point of view is, so from inventory management point of view, what we're doing is we're sending them all the goods to required to make a laptop. Okay, so we're sending them goods, and what we're getting back is good received of the finished material. That means the final laptop will be received. We'll send them all the raw materials, all the components of the laptop, and finally we'll get back finished material, which is a laptop. Okay, and third block is your invoice verification. So finally the invoice will be created for the work they have done, and they will be paid for the job. Okay, so that's your subcontracting. Okay, here you at this stage we'll talk about subcontracting again later on in more detail practically, but here you just need to understand what does subcontracting means. Okay, now we'll talk about vendor consignment. Okay, what does vendor consignment means? So vendor consignment is nothing. Vendor consignment is something like, let me give you an example first. Vendor consignment is like, so in the previous purchasing processes, I've told you that, you know, what we do is we raise a purchase order for the vendor, okay, and vendor will send the goods to us, right, and then we'll pay them. Okay, very simple process. But in case of vendor consignment, what will happen is, what the vendor will do is vendor will keep their goods in my company premises. Okay, so let me explain you this one. Okay, so this is my company. Okay, and here is my vendor. Okay, so because I'm buying a lot of stuff from this vendor, okay, so what this vendor will do, this vendor will send some stock. Okay, they will keep their stock in my company. Okay, that means they have, this is vendor stock. So that's your vendor stock. Okay, whatever raw material they're providing us. So they keeping their stock where? In my company premises. Understand? Okay, they keeping their stock in my company premises. That means who is the owner of this stock? Who is the owner of this stock? The same vendor. We are not the owner because we didn't raise a purchase order. We didn't pay for anything, and it's not a part of our inventory. So for this stock, still the vendor is responsible, vendor is the owner. But whenever my company require the same material, okay, so what we'll do is my company will raise a purchase order for them, okay, and consume the stock from here. Okay, for example, the stock is, say, stock for some products, say 100 pieces they put in my company premises. Okay, tomorrow my company requires 10 pieces of the same product. So what my company will do, my company will raise a purchase order for 10 pieces and will send a purchase order to the vendor. Okay, to that vendor. Okay, we'll raise a purchase order for 10 pieces. At the same time, my company will consume 10 pieces from here. So I'm taking 10 pieces. That's why I'm raising a purchase order for 10 pieces. So here, after raising the 10 pieces order, there will be 90 left. So again, those 90 will be, who is the owner for those 90 pieces? Again, the vendor. So whenever my company will require more stock, we'll raise another purchase order and will consume them. So that means the stock is sitting in my company premises, but still the vendor is the owner. Okay, so this is called consignment stock. Okay, this is called consignment stock. Okay, where the goods will be in my company premises, but I'm not the owner yet. Okay, the vendor is still the owner. So I'll be the owner whenever I raise a purchase order, and I will take some and I will consume some. Okay, so let's look at this picture. You can see here 3 boxes again: purchasing, inventory, invoice verification. Okay, so in purchasing you can see what we do is we create a consignment record. We'll talk about this record later on. Okay, and Um, we can also create a purchase order for consignment item as well. Okay, so whenever we want to consume some item from that, we can create a purchase order for consignment. Okay, and that purchase order will be received by them, and that means as soon as we have created the purchase order, we'll consume those items. Okay, we'll consume those items, and again, whatever the quantity is left, say 90 pieces, again, this still the vendor is responsible, or the owner of those pieces. Okay, and whatever we have consumed will first thing is, so if you have taken 10 pieces, then those 10 pieces will be added to my inventory, and finally whatever we have consumed, we'll create an invoice and we'll pay the vendor for that. Okay, so that's your consignment process or vendor consignment. Okay, and now another theoretical thing is we'll talk about org levels in the procurement process. Okay, what are the different types of org level in SAP for the procurement or SAP MM? So basically, these are the the main 5 org level in SAP MM. Okay, on the top we have client, under that we have company code, under that we have plant, under that we have storage location, and under that we have purchasing organization. Purchasing organization have further purchasing group. Okay, so these are the main 5 or 6 org levels. So let's discuss one by one. What is client? Okay, what is client, then what is company code, and all that. So let's see what is client. Okay, so client is a unit with SAP that is itself contained both in legal and organization term and in terms of master data and transaction data. Okay, from business point of view, the client could represent a corporate group. So client is nothing. Client is just like it's a legal term that we require where all the master data and transaction data are stored against this client. Okay, for example, I haven't introduced you with SAP yet, but let me show you something. So whenever you log into a SAP, here you can see a client. See, client. So that's your client. I mean, that client is different, but what I'm saying is client is your is like if you want to separate a corporate group, that's your client. Okay, that's your client where all the master data, transaction data will be stored against that client. Okay, that's your client at the top level, and under that we have a thing called company code. Under client we have a thing called company code. Okay, so this is the smallest org unit that represents an independent and legal accounting entity. Okay, it is required by law to provide balance sheet and profit and loss statement. So basically what company code is, this is the smallest org unit, okay, which is used in the finance side of SAP. Okay, and it is required by law, it is mandatory by law to have a company code where basically we create all the balance sheet and profit and loss statement. Okay, for example, if my company is multinational company and they're all over the world, so one branch is here in Australia, one in the US, one in Canada, so maybe I can have one company code for Australia, one company code for US, one company code for Canada. Okay, so that's your company code. Then the next level down is we have plant. Okay, what is plant? So plant is an org unit with logistic that subdivides the enterprise from the viewpoint of production, procurement, material planning. So plant is nothing. Plant is where from MM point of view, plant is where is a logistic part of SAP, where from SAP MM point of view, a plant is where all the stock are kept or the inventory are kept. Plant from the sales point of view, SD, sales and distribution point of view, is the place from where all the goods are sent to the customer. Okay, from SD point of view, plant is the place from where the goods are sent to the customer. And from MM point of view, as I said, where the stock or inventory are kept. And from production planning point of view, plant is nothing, it's just where all the production is happening. Okay, where all the production is happening, that's your plant from SAP PP. Okay, so basically from MM side where all the stock is kept and all that, that's your plant. Then you have storage location. Under plant, the next level down is storage location. Okay, is an org unit that facilitates the differentiation of stocks of material within a plant inventory management on a quality level is carried out in the plant at this level. So basically, in simple words, what is store location? Store location is nothing, is just if you want to divide your plant. Okay, so the division of the plant will be called store location, nothing else. So here in the previous screen, if you want to divide your plant, or here, if you want to divide your plant into 3 different parts, so they will be the store location. Okay, that's a store location. Okay, that's a store location where the stocks are kept at different levels. Okay. Next level is purchasing organization. Okay, what is purchasing organization? So this is an org unit within logistic that subdivides the enterprise according to the purchasing requirement. You can have a centralized or decentralized purchasing for a company. So purchasing org is nothing. It's just a division of the company by the procurement process. Okay, so I'll show you some next slides where you will have a better understanding of purchasing organization. So just be with me. I'll explain more about the purchasing organization in a minute. Okay, so purchasing group. What is purchasing group? Is a key. Purchasing group will be assigned under purchasing organization. Okay, and purchasing group is nothing, is a key of buyer or a group of buyer who is or are responsible for the procurement of material or a class of material. So group is nothing. A group within a company can be one person or can be more than one person, okay, who are responsible for the procurement of something. For example, in a company, one group or one person can be responsible to buy all the raw materials. Second person is also a group number 2, who is a part, or the one person or more than one person who is responsible to buy all the services. Okay, there is a third person, another third person who is also called a group number 3, which is responsible to buy all the consumable materials. You know what I mean? So that's a purchasing group where you want to divide the people or a group of people that who is responsible to buy what. We're dividing the job that, okay, you're responsible to buy this, that group is responsible to buy that thing, and third is to buy that one. Okay, that's a group. Okay, so purchasing organization, nothing, is just dividing of the enterprise into different parts. Okay, so for example, I can say my company is in Australia and I have, say, one plant in 4 different cities. Okay, one in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and Perth. Okay, so I can say, okay, I can create one common centralized purchasing org for all the 4 different locations, 4 different branches, or I can have a separate one for each of them. That, okay, this is the first purchase organization responsible for Melbourne only, second one responsible for the second one, third for third, and fourth for fourth. Or I can have one common one for all. Okay, that's a purchase organization. So we'll see more about purchasing organization and group in this slide. So here now we're going to talk about in more details about this, what is purchasing organization or group. Okay, so if you want to see in more details about what types of purchasing organization can be, okay, so let's have a look at this one. So this one is plant specific purchasing organization. Now what is plant specific? This is the example I was just giving you right now. Okay, that what is plant specific? A purchasing org is responsible for procuring material for just one plant. As the name is saying, plant specific. Okay, for plant number 1, purchase organization 1 is responsible. Plant number 2, purchase org 2 is responsible. Plant number 3, purchase org 3 is responsible. Okay, so one-to-one connection, plant specific. For one plant, only one specific purchasing organization is responsible. Okay, one-to-one connection. That's a plant specific. Second one is cross plant. As the name is saying, cross plant, that means a purchasing org is responsible for procurement materials for several plants or more than one plant. So here you can see there's only one purchasing organization, which I was given an example before, that you can have one centralized purchasing organization which is responsible for procurement from all the plants, plant 1, plant 2, or maybe third and fourth as well. Okay, that's cross plant purchasing organization. Okay, so first one was plant specific. Now we have cross plant, where one can be responsible for several plants, procurement material for several plants. And then we have cross company code. Okay, we have cross company code purchasing organization. So same as the previous example where the purchasing organization is common for the plants, but those plants can belong to different company codes. For example, one plant in Australia, one in Canada, one in the US. Okay, so they both, all three of them belongs to the same purchasing organization. Only one purchasing organization is responsible for all three of them. However, those three are basically belonging to different company code. Okay, so what it means is here is a purchasing org can be responsible for multiple company codes. Okay, so where the purchasing org is responsible for the multiple company code, more than one company code, like this example. Okay, so let's continue. So that's all about all of the theoretical part of first half of today's session. Now in the second part, we'll do some practicals as well, and if you're new to SAP, then this is for you. I'll talk about some SAP navigation. Okay, so I'll show you how the SAP system works and all that, and the navigation within the SAP system. Okay, so let's see some practicals. And within SAP navigation, I'm going to teach you today is what is SAP GUI icon, and how to log into SAP, how to reset your password in SAP, standard SAP screen for all modules, command bar, menu path, favorite transaction, F1 help, F4 search, multiple SAP session. Okay, so these things we'll see here in a minute. So basically, once you enroll for the training, then I'll provide a link, okay, that you can download to your PC, and that link will create a little link like this one, SAP logon on your desktop. Okay, so what I need to do is to double click on that little link, and here, okay, so open, and when you double click on that link, it will open something like this. Okay, so you need to go log into ECC, so double click on ECC. Here it will show you this screen where you can enter your user ID that's given to you and your password, and press enter. Okay, so you will now see the SAP screen. Okay, another thing I want to tell you, let me minimize this. Let me double click on this one again. So when you log in here, you can also click on new password to reset your password. If you want to reset your password, okay, here you can enter your original password and ID, click on new password, and here, okay, I need to log off from the other session, then it will allow me. Give me a second. If I click on new password, here it will ask you to enter the new password. Okay, if you want, you can reset your password from here, or I can cancel this one for now. Okay, so that's I'm logged into the SAP screen. So that's a common screen basically. Okay, now you have seen SAP login icon, how to log into SAP, how to reset your password, and standard SAP screen for all modules. Whether I'm working in SD, whether I'm working in PP, whether I'm working in finance, so everyone who will log on to the system, they will log in with the same step that I've shown you, and they all see the same screen here. Okay, but they all have their different access. If I'm the MM person, if I'm the MM end user, I will only have access to the stuff that I can do within a MM. I can't do anything with finance or production planning or sales and distribution. Okay, same with other people. Whatever they're supposed to do, they will have only access to those things. Okay, but everyone will log on to the same screen and they will see the same screen. Okay, so if I don't have access to something, I will get an onboarding message that okay, you don't have access. If I try to do something which I'm not supposed to do, or not supposed to have access. Command bar. So that's your command bar here. So here you can type your transaction. Okay, or you can use a menu path. For example, if you want to create a purchase order, so what you can do is you can go to logistic, or you can open sales and distribution, open material management, purchasing, and then you can open purchase order and create, and see this one, create a purchase order. I can double click on this one to create a purchase order. And there is a second method as well. I'll show you. So that's a purchase order entry screen. Let me go back. Or you can see the transaction code is ME21. ME21. I can directly type here ME21. So most people will just, as you work with SAP, you automatically remember this transaction code. You don't need to memorize. You automatically remember. Okay. Here on the menu bar, I don't need to look at here as well. I remember ME21, ME. I can type here ME21 and enter. And here you can see it will take you to the purchase order entry screen. Okay. And any transaction that I use on the day-to-day basis, okay, whether I'm a consultant, whether I'm an end user in SAP, I can add that transaction as favorite here. Okay, so see the favorite here. Okay, under favorite, I can right click here and I can click on insert transaction. And for example, ME21N. I can type here and I can check. See, this is my favorite. So next time, I don't need to go into this long menu path here. Instead of that, I can double click on my shortcut straight away. I can double click here and I can create my purchase order like that. Okay. Or other thing you can do is you can also create some folders under favorite. Okay, under favorite, if I right click on it, if I click on insert folder and here give it the folder name, say purchase orders. So here you can see the folder. Okay, and under folder you can insert some transaction. For example, this one I can insert here. I can drag and drop as well. See, that's under purchase order. Okay, so under purchase order, that's the one to create purchase order, and there's another one ME22 and to change a purchase order. I can right click on this one, this folder, insert transaction, ME22N, and I can add that one here. Okay, you can also drag them up and down wherever you want to put them. Like that. Or you can click on this up and down button to move them up and down. Okay, so that's my folder and I have created two favorites here. Okay, so that's your favorite transaction. And then F1 help. Okay, what is F1 help? So basically, for example, whenever you run a transaction, whenever you see a screen, for example, let me open the screen for purchase order. So I'll talk about this screen in a minute in more details. But whenever you have a screen here like that, okay, any field, so you can see there are so many fields here. And if you want to know that what is this, for example, what is this field for? Okay, see vendor. You can put the cursor on that field and click on F1 on your PC. If here I'm clicking on F1, it will give me the detail of that field, what that field is all about. Okay, there's a vendor or supplying plant, and there's the whole detail about the field, vendor. This is a vendor field. Okay, for example, next I can show you, say, for example, there's another field here called this one, A. What is this? Put the cursor here, press F1. So this is account assignment category. What is account assignment category? You can see the detail here. You can read it. Okay, so you don't need to ask anything. You can just use F1 help to know about any field. Okay, and that's F1 help. And then also you have F4 help. Okay, what is F4 help? F4 help is nothing. It's just like if you want to enter so for example, here you see purchase organization. You need to use a purchase organization. Okay, I need to select a purchase organization. So what are my options to select a purchase organization? I can click on this little scale button on the corner here. That will give me the list of all the possible entries. So I can pick something from here. Okay, I can pick something from here as a purchase organization. Okay, or I can put the cursor on that field and click on F4 on my PC. If I click on F4, same thing will happen. Same thing. This will give you the available option for that field. Okay, so either you click on F4 or you click on this little button on any field, same thing. Okay, to see the possible entries. Okay, so and also multiple SAP session at the same time. You can open more than one session and maximum up to 6. Okay, for example, here I'm working on this screen. Okay, I don't want to leave this screen, but immediately I need to do something else on another SAP screen. So what I can do is I can click on this little button on the top, see on the little button, create new session. Click on that, it will open one more session. See, that's another session. I can show you the previous session. So that's the old session behind the screen, and that's a new session. Okay, and here I can start something else. For example, I want to create a vendor. I can create by XK01 transaction like that. And at the same time, you want to create another change in the SAP. I can open one more screen. Click on this little button again, and it will open the third screen. See, that's the third screen. So here I can jump to any screen here. Okay, so if you maximize it, maximize that. If you want to go to any screen, you can see from the bottom, you can click on any screen. Okay, and you can open in the standard system, you can open maximum up to 6 screen maximum. Okay, so that's your SAP navigation. Okay, so this is just an introduction only. As we go further, you will automatically learn more about the navigation within SAP and shortcuts and all that. Okay, so that's just the beginning. Now we'll start some practicals from here. Okay, so introduction to SAP purchase order cycle. Okay, what is purchase order cycle? So I'll give you just little bit practical information and some theoretical as well about the purchase order cycle. So purchase order cycle basically start with creating a purchase order. Okay, so SAP purchase order. So first of all, what we do is we create a purchase order, and transaction code is ME21N. Okay, and second step will be, after creating the purchase order, when the goods are received, okay, we have created a purchase order, send it to the vendor. Now vendor has sent the goods to us. Now what we'll do, we'll receive them. The second step will be good received using the transaction MIGO. Okay, so we'll receive the goods in SAP system, and once we have received the goods, what is the next step? We need to pay to the vendor. Okay, so third step will be invoice document. We'll create an invoice for the vendor using the transaction called MIRO, M-I-R-O. Okay, that's the 3 steps. Okay, so just a brief in 3 steps. We're going to do some practical here, and I'll be showing you how you can create a purchase order, how you can do the good received in SAP, and finally how you can create an invoice document. Okay, so let us start with the first one, which is your purchase order. How we can create a purchase order in SAP. Okay, so let me show you how we can create a purchase order. Before that, let me show you this screen. Okay, so purchase order can be created. If you look at this screen, purchase order can be created as a reference from a quotation, okay, or from a requisition, from a contract, or can be created without any reference. Okay, so at the moment now I'll be creating without any reference. In the next chapter, I'll be showing you how you can create with reference as well. Okay, so let me create a purchase order with no reference. Okay, so what we need to do is to see ME21N. I can type here, or I can double click on the transaction ME21N, enter. Okay, so here basically what initially first time when you run this transaction, you will see some screen like this. Okay, you might see some screen like this, or maybe something like this the first time you run. Okay, or maybe let me log off and log back in again so that I can show you what exactly you will see first time when you create a purchase order. So ME21N, enter. You maybe because I removed that, that's why it's not showing. You might see some additional screen on the left hand side. Okay, just there should be a close button. You can click on that, and that's a different thing, which is document overview. You can turn it off and on. For now, I will leave it off. Okay, we'll talk about this one later on. In the first time, you will see all of them like closed like this. Okay, so basically data is divided into 3 views. Okay, first view is the header. Okay, second view is the item overview, and another view is item, which is the detail of this item. Okay, so header, here item only. So let us open the first two view. Okay, let's open the first two view, and later on we'll open the third view as well. Okay, so here I'm creating a purchase order. Okay, now first thing is I need to enter a vendor. See, enter a vendor. Okay, so what I can do is I can enter a vendor number. Now how to search for a vendor? Okay, I already created one vendor in the system that I'll be using now. In the next chapter I'll show you how to create your own vendor. For now you can use the same vendor, and you can click on this little search button to find the vendor. Okay, I created a vendor called Study Nest vendor. Here you can search for the name, say called study. I can say study star. Star means give me everything, give me the list of all the vendor whose name is starting with study. Maybe study something, study ABC, study XYZ, study Nest. Give me everything. So if I click that one, it will give me the list of all the vendors starting with study. Okay, so see the bottom one, Study Nest vendor 1. Just use this one, and the number of this vendor is 100501. Okay, so for now use this vendor, or you can, if you remember the number, you can directly type the number here. Okay, 100,501. Okay, and press enter. Okay, and you will see system will guide you automatically that what are the mandatory fields you need to enter. Okay, so at the bottom you can see it's showing me a error message at the bottom. It's saying enter purchasing organization. Okay, and it's automatically putting the cursor on that field where I need to enter some data. Okay, so here I can enter purchasing organization. So for now you can search from here. There's so many purchasing organization, but I want you to just use one that I'm using here. There's so many here, but I want you to use 1000. Okay, 1000 purchasing organization. Then press enter again. It will guide you next step. It's saying that give me the purchasing group. Okay, purchasing group you can use any. Purchasing group doesn't matter. Purchasing org does matter. But for now, be consistent. Just use the purchasing group as 0000, first one. Okay, and that's it. Now press enter again. Okay, so there's no error anymore. Now that's the header data. We have entered the header for that customer, for the vendor and the purchasing org and company code. Now we'll enter some material data here. Okay, so what is material? So here you can search for the material. See this little search button? I can search for the material. So here you can do some search for the material by description. Okay, for example, I can say, okay, mouse star, give me everything with starting with mouse. Let's see if we have some data or not. Okay, there are a couple of them, but for now, don't use them. Okay, just use the code that I'm using here, and then I'll show you how you can create your own material later on. Okay, so HT1010 I want you to use for now. Okay, and press enter. You can see there's at the bottom there's an error message, enter plant, and the cursor is automatically on the plant. So here enter the plant number 1000. Okay, use the plant number 1000 as I'm using here, enter. And also purchase order quantity. See here, purchase order quantity, it automatically popping up the bottom screen. Let me close it. Here you can enter the purchase order quantity. Say I want, say, 5 pieces of this product. Okay, for some reason so it's showing me error that there is no price setup. Okay, so it's automatically going to that screen, and here it's asking me to enter the price. For now, just enter some price, say $12 per piece, or whatever price you want to put. Okay, now you can see there is no error. Okay, now you can see the data is divided to 3 different areas. Okay, first thing you need to make sure there is no error. Okay, and you can double check this by clicking on this little button. See this one, check, this button, check. If I click on this button, check, it will do a check if there's any error. At the bottom you can see there's no message issued during check. That means everything is fine. So here you can see data is divided to 3 different areas. Top is header, that's header, and then item details, header, and that's header, and that's items, item overview, and that's item detail. Header, let me open it again. Header, item overview, item detail. If I open header, there's a header where you enter the vendor and purchasing organization and all that. What is item? Item is where you have entered the material and quantity and price. Okay, and the third one is the detail of the item, the same item, item number 10. So here's the detail of the third item. Here you can see material data, what is the material group of this material, and quantity, weight. Here you can see the weight. Okay, you can see the data in different tabs. Delivery schedule, it's supposed to deliver on this date. Delivery, invoice condition. Here you can see some condition like pricing condition and all that. Okay, so data is divided into 3 different areas. I can enter one more item here. Say item number second, say HT 1020. Okay, and quantity will be set 2. Enter. Okay, and plant will be 1000. Okay, again it's asking for the price. I can enter some price here or here. I can say $4. That's it. Okay, if I click on the check, everything is good. Okay, now again you can notice here is that's the first 2 view, header view, item overview, and the third view, item detail. Okay, so in the item, in the middle view, you can see my items, just an overview only. But if you want to see the detail of each item, you need to click on the third box here, third one. If I click on the third one, here you can see that you can pick any item, what item you want to see the detail. Okay, I can say the second one, select second one, and you can see the detail of the second item. And anytime I can select the first one, I can change it, and I can see the detail of the first one, like that. Okay, so here we have the purchase order ready. In brief, you can also see the print preview. See this button, little button, print preview. If I click on this print preview, that's a print preview. Okay, that's a print that we're going to send to the customer. This is just a dummy print. Okay, and it can be changed by the developer. Okay, and I can go back. So there's a print preview, and I can save it. When you save it, system will generate a number for you. Okay, just keep an eye. See at the bottom of the screen, you can see a message, standard PO created under the number 4500017563. Okay, so you can note down this number. Even if you don't, you can search it later on. Click on the message, it will open the screen, and copy that number. Okay, I can save this number, say here. That's a purchase order number. Okay, so that's a purchase order. Let me go through some screen. So as I said before, that a purchase order item, you can enter more than one item. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40 or more you can even enter. Okay, and that's the format look like for the purchase order. Okay, and you can have a header data and item specific data on the purchase order, as I was showing you before. Now we'll see these little buttons. So that's the little button to create a new order. That's a button to open existing one. If I click on this button, here I can remember the last purchase order number. Okay, I can open it, or I can enter a purchase order number and click on other document, and here I can open that document. Okay, so right now it's in the display mode. See the middle button, this one, I can click on this button to go to the change mode. See, that's a change mode. I can change it, or I can click on this button again to go to the display mode. Okay, so that button will be the interface between change mode and display mode. Okay. Okay, next is output. Okay, so once we have created the order, we can send it to the customer. Okay, via an output. So output can be, we can print the purchase order and post it to the vendor. We can fax them, we can email them, we can send via EDI as well. Okay, electronic data interchange. Okay, so electronically it will be go to into their SAP system automatically. Okay, so at the moment, so you can see here, if you see the message, if I click on messages here, see messages, You can see how it is going. It's going by printout. It's going to be printed. That's how it is set up. Okay, that is how set up. Print. It is going to be print out. Okay, so let me save it. Okay, and how you can set up the output. Okay, you can say, okay, for vendor number 1 2 3 4 I want to send by email. For vendor number 2 3 4 5 I want to print. For third vendor I want to send them by fax. How do we do that? I'll show you. Let me open one more screen. There's a transaction called MN04 to create the message, what we call messages or output. Okay, MN04. You can type it here straight away, MN04, enter. And here select, see in this screen, select the output type as, this is just additional thing I'm showing you here, NEU. Okay, and press enter. It will ask you that how you want to create the, what key combination you want to use, just like the second one for now, which is for document type, purchasing, org, and vendor. Select the second one. And here you can say, okay, document type will be sales, the purchasing document type we use is, show you. We'll talk about this one later on in detail, but for now you just remember that we're using NB. Just like NB here, NB, purchase organization we used was 1000. Enter your vendor number here. So for example, that's a vendor. Okay, I was using, press enter. Oh, this is already there. We enter the second one. Okay, and here see the medium. If I open this one, you can select here how you want to send it. You want to send it by print, fax, or email, or EDI. Okay, so you can say, okay, I want to send it by, I want to print it. You can print it. So number 1 is print, number 2 is fax, or you can say I want to fax it. I want to fax it and save it. Okay, so whatever setting is done for that vendor, system will pick it up from the vendor master. Okay, so vendor master I'll be showing in the next video, that where the fax number and email address are kept in the vendor master. But for now, just remember this one, that here you can select the output. Okay, so we'll come back to our previous point where we have created our purchase order. Okay, now purchase order is created and sent to the vendor. Now what vendor will do? The vendor will send the goods to us. Okay, and our next step will be good receipt. That's your second one. Okay, let's do the goods receipt using transaction called MIGO, M-I-G-O. Okay, so you can again, I'll copy this purchase order number and I'll go back. And also you can just, if you're new to SAP, let me open this same purchase order. If you're new to SAP, you can just play with the different, you can go through the different screen and different tabs and just make yourself familiar with the screen of the purchase order. Okay, it looks complicated, but it's not. First time if you're looking at it, it's complicated, but actually once you start using it, you will get more familiar every day. Okay, so so that's a purchase order ready. Now second step we're going to do is to create a good receipt. Okay, so to do the good receipt, you can use a menu path either, say logistic, material management, purchasing, inventory, goods movement. So here, sorry, under inventory, goods movement, MIGO. Okay, or you can type here straight away MIGO, or what I'll do, I'll create a favorite here. MIGO. Okay, so double click on MIGO. Okay, so double click on MIGO to do the good receipt. So basically we're going to do the good receipt. Okay, and so what is good receipt? So vendor has sent you the goods. Okay, send you the goods. Now we're going to do the good receipt in the SAP system and put them in the stock. Okay, so once you, let me start it again. So double click on MyGo, and here by default it's using, that's the screen, good receipt. By default it's using good receipt, and here it's saying I'm purchase order. Leave it like that. Make sure it's good receipt and purchase order, and here enter a purchase order number. So that's my purchase order. I'll copy that and I will paste that here. Okay, and click on this little execute button. Okay, so as soon as you execute it, system will read from your purchase order that there were 2 items we sent to the vendor, and 5 was the quantity and 2 was the quantity for what we asked for. Okay, so here you can, maybe you have received 4 of the pieces. You can change the quantity here, that how many we received against what we have ordered. Okay, or you can leave it like that. Okay, by default it will read the actual quantity. You can change it or you can leave it like that. Okay, now once you are happy that, okay, that you are happy with the quality, so someone has done physically check the quality of the goods and they are happy with the goods. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say okay and okay. So once you do the okay, that means system will accept that. And the point to be noted here is good receipt is controlled something by this thing called movement types. Okay, we'll talk about details for the movement types later on again. But movement types is like 101 movement types is to put the good receipt to the warehouse, and 122 is the return to the delivery. For example, here you can see by default, what is the movement type? 101. Okay, don't touch it, don't leave it, don't change it. But what I want to show you is, if I click on the search button for movement types, here you can see all the possible movement types. Okay, so return delivery to the vendor, return delivery for good receipt, blocked stock, but this one is using 101. Okay, good receipt for purchase order into warehouse. Okay, so leave it like 101 here, but what I'm saying is 101 is just to do with the putting the stock in the inventory in the warehouse. Okay, so let's continue. So here you can tick these check boxes here, what if they are okay. Okay, and what you can do is you can click on this check button. See the check button? I can click on the check button to see if everything is fine. It will do the check that everything is okay or not. Okay, it's showing me 2 errors. Enter the storage location. Okay, so it's asking me enter the storage location. So here's the storage location I need to enter. Okay, so at the moment if I search for the storage location, there are so many storage location here, but for now you just use the first one, 0001, or you can type it manually here as well, 0001. Press enter. Okay, now we have entered the storage location. It will change it will show you the description of the storage location instead of the key. Like if I enter 0001, press enter, it will show the description of the, so that's a description of the storage location, nothing else. And that's, I think, something in German language. So once you have done this, click on the check again. Price change of this in month of this in this, just ignore this, is a warning only, just ignore that. So it's showing you one as a green light, one as a yellow light. Yellow light is nothing, it's just a warning. You can click on the yellow light, it will show you there's a price change or something. Okay, just ignore this. Main thing is there shouldn't be any red light, that means error. Okay, warning is fine. So if it's showing you green or if it's showing you yellow, everything is okay. So once it's green or yellow, you can click on the post. See the post? You can click on post or you can save it. Okay, as soon as you click on the post, that means we have received the goods into our store. Okay, click on post, it will do the posting for the purchase order. Done. So at the bottom you can see it generated a material document. See at the bottom of the screen, I can click on the bottom message and I can copy the material document number. So that's you can call, this is the PO we created, and then we have created MyGo or goods received, that's the document number. Okay, and also when you create the goods received, you can also enter their delivery note number. Okay, delivery note number, that means the vendor has sent their delivery number. Okay, say 1234. Okay, and bill of lading, you can also enter that. Bill of lading is nothing, is just like the document number given by the shipping party or the courier company or or whoever send the goods by transport. So they can say whether 5, 6, 7, 8, what our number is. You can also enter this number if you want. Okay, so 2 steps are done. So we have basically created a purchase order. Now we have done the goods receipt. Now finally what we need to do is to third step, invoice document. We need to create an invoice for the purchase order. So let's do the invoicing. So invoice, you already know what is invoice. Okay, invoice is document that, okay, this is what we're going to pay you. Okay, we're creating a billing document, invoicing document. Okay, so invoice document will have all the information about the goods that delivered, what we're going to pay them and everything, their address, the vendor details, everything. Okay, that's that's the information you can see on an invoice. Okay, so to do the invoice, the code is MIRO, M-I-R-O. Okay, so I can add here another favorite, MIRO. Okay, so double click on MIRO. And here it will open this screen for you. Okay, and what you need to do is you need to reference your purchase order. You need to reference your purchase order. Okay, and I can, first of all, you can see where the cursor is, invoicing date. You can select a date here, click on the search date button, and I'll put today's date here. Okay, then you can reference it to your purchase order. See here, you can paste your purchase order here. Okay, even if you do not remember a purchase order, you can search for it. If I click on this search button, I can search for the purchase order. It will show me a search screen. So here it's asking me who is the vendor, who is the party. Okay, so I can say I want to search for the vendor. I can click on the search vendor, and vendor name was Study Nest vendor 1, I think. That's the one, last one, and I can execute that. Show me all the purchase order for this vendor. Okay, and it found only one. That's the one. You can select that and click on copy. So if you do not remember, you can search like this, or if you remember, copy and paste here. Okay, so once you're done, once you have entered this one here, press enter. So when you press enter, it will read that document and see how much quantity was supposed to be paid to the vendor. Okay, here is saying total is $68. Okay, even at the moment, if I open one more screen and open the same purchase order, that purchase order, you can see here for 5 pieces, 12 into 5, how much is that? 60. Okay, and 2 into 4, 8, 68 is the total. Even if you can see here status. So status is, you can see status showing you ordered is 7 pieces, delivered is 7 pieces, $68 is the total. So it's reading the total price from your purchase order. Okay, so let me close this screen. So that's a $68 we need to supposed to pay them. Okay, so here basically this transaction is run by the account payable officer in the finance department. Okay, so they do this, they run this transaction on day-to-day basis. So here I can match this amount. So 68 is proposing by the system, and I can say, okay, I'm going to pay them 68. Okay, once you have done, press enter. Okay, if you see the green light here, see there's a green light here, that means everything is good. Okay, and what we need to do is to save it. Okay, it's asking for the baseline date, and select a date for this one, and now press enter, and this is showing another screen. Press enter again, and now it will show you See at the bottom it's showing a document number. So that means it's created a document number for invoice. So there's a document number for invoice. That's an invoice document. Okay. So 3 steps: create a purchase order, we created a good receipt, and finally we've done the invoice document. Okay, so let's see some more slides here. So my row, and that's a structure of the invoice. And sorry, this one is at the wrong place. That should be here. I already talked about this one where you can enter the delivery note and all that in the goods receipt. Okay. Okay, so let's continue here. So that's the information, the invoice. That's it. Okay, so now finally we have created the invoice. Okay, so 3 step is done. Now again you can go back to the purchase order and see this, what we call it, document flow. You can call it document flow, or you can call it purchase order history. Same thing. Okay, I'll show you. If you open this purchase order, let me open it. So I can you can for the transaction for purchase order is, as you know, ME22N, or I can open that ME22N, or you can add another one if you want, display purchase order. Insert transaction, and there's another transaction called ME23N. Okay, ME21N is to create purchase order, 22N to change, 23N to display. Okay, so if I say display or change, doesn't matter, pick any, and it will remember your last purchase order number. And here you can, if I go to the, see this one, you can see there's a first header, there's a item overview, and click on the item detail. And I'm looking at the first item detail, item number 10, first item. Okay, so here if I click on purchase order history, you can see there's the material document was created, which is a good receipt, and there's an invoice, that's a good receipt document, 500,000 number, and there's an invoice receipt, that one, that and that you can see here. See that you can see here. Not only for first item, because we created first and second item together, that's why the number are same. I can jump to the second item and I can see quickly, again the numbers are same, only quantity is different, 2, and the first one the quantity is 5. If you have done the good receipt and invoicing separately for each item, then you will find different numbers here for material document or good receipt and invoice receipt. Okay, and from here you can jump to any of this document. Like I want to go to this material document, I can click on this number, it will take me to that document, that amount into that document. Okay, and here in this document I can click on this document info. See document info, not here, sorry. See purchase order history at the bottom. So here is saying that I'm linked to this purchase order. I can double click on this purchase order again and it will jump to that purchase order again. So I'm back to the purchase order. Okay, I can again go to the purchase order history. I want to see that good receipt. Okay, so what I can do is click on this number of good receipt, sorry, not good receipt, invoice receipt. So click on this number, 5105 number, and it will, you can jump to the invoicing document. That's the invoicing document. Okay, so that will be sent to the customer, vendor. Okay, so now you understand how we can create a purchase order, how we can then create a good receipt as a reference to the purchase order, and finally how we can do an invoice, create an invoice document as a reference to the first purchase order. Okay, now before we move further, I want you to do some practice on the server. Okay, and here once we finish every topic, I'll give you assignment for each topic that you're supposed to do before you move on to the next topic. Okay, that's the best way to learn. Okay, so assignment for today in this video is, I want you to create a purchase order using transaction code ME21N. Okay, and when you create this purchase order, you can use the same vendor and material that I'm using. Okay, but in the next video, I'll show you how we can create our own vendor number, own material number that you can use in the next purchase order. Okay, but for now, just use the same vendor and material. Okay, or follow my steps. Second is familiarize yourself with the different screen on the purchase order. Okay, just play with the screen here. So here you see that this screen here. Just go through the different tabs and click on different buttons, whatever you can, and see what are the information stored in the different tabs here. Okay, just familiarize yourself. And then after creating the purchase order, I want you to create a good receipt using the MyGo. Okay, with reference to the purchase order. And finally, I want you to create a invoice for a PO using the transaction code MIRO, M-I-R-O. Okay, just use the same as what I did just now. And also observe the different screen of the invoicing document in the MIRO. And also see where the purchase order history is in your purchase order. Okay, I was just showing you here that you can see the purchase order history. So once you have done all the 3 steps, okay, just go through, just open your purchase order again and go to the bottom level item detail and look at the purchase order history. So purchase order history will show you that what are the invoicing document, good receipt document were created. Okay, you can also look at the header. If I go to the header under status, okay, under status you can see order quantity was 68. How much delivered? Order quantity was 7 pieces and $68. How much delivered? Yes, 7. How much we have invoiced? 7. Okay, so all 3 steps are completed here. Okay, so that's about this video, and thank you again to watching this video. So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll study in more details about master data and all the different concepts in SAP MM. So thank you very much once again. I'll see you in the next video.